give you a heads up on that. You should get a warning now. So welcome into the information session. And we're happy you're here, and we're looking forward to talking a little bit about what we think makes this program special, how we've arranged the year-long program, and what the experience has been like in this program. Today, we've got a pretty straightforward agenda to talk about. We're going to start with some introductions, give a little overview about the program, discuss the curriculum in a little more detail, touch on admissions a bit and career outcomes. And then we're going to get to a student panel where we talk with some current students about their experience and hear how they've managed both the admissions process and their first couple months in this program. After that, we'll have some time for questions and answers. You can also use the chat throughout the program to ask questions or make comments along the way. In fact, as we get started here, if you are willing, it'd be great to sort of put into chat introductions of who you are, where you're from. It's always neat to see where everybody's calling in from for these sessions. We generally have a pretty wide range of folks coming in from a lot of different backgrounds. So to introduce our side, here in this call with us, I'm Matt Bartels, the Assistant Director of Student Services. You've probably heard from me in emails and the like. I work a lot on the admission side of things and on the career side of things. Joining us today is our program director, Jacob Wolbrock. Jacob Wolbrock is a professor in the Information School here at the University of Washington, and we'll hear from him very shortly here to talk a little more about the program. In addition, joining us, we have a group of student hosts. So they'll be talking towards the end of the session. This is Hannah, Niveda, Peggy, and Jai. They're all going to share their experience and how the program has been for them. They're the experience on the ground, seeing what it's like to be in the MHCID program. And I'm really looking forward to talking with them a bit about what they found here. So to get us started, we thought we'd talk at a broad level about what's going on with this program and what we think we're doing here. So for this, I'd like to pass it over to Jacob to talk a little bit about the MHCID program. Jacob.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jacob Wolbrock. I'm a professor in the Information School. I also have a courtesy appointment in computer science and engineering. And I helped found the MHCID program about, well, how many years ago? We're on our 13th cohort now, and the work for starting the degree started at least a few years before that. So probably 15 to even maybe 20 years ago, we started getting things going. And it's really become a terrific program. As you can see here, our mission is to prepare leaders who intentionally draw from and contribute to different disciplines to practice critical optimism in how human-computer interaction and design approach practice. And what that means is having an optimistic view towards the future and ways of drawing on the design discipline and technology and user research in order to make better futures for everyone. And so we are optimists inherently, but we employ a design practice in order to achieve our vision and try to make the world a better place. We can go to the next slide. You can see some of our former students here gathered in, I think this is MOHI,
That's right.
Museum of History and Industry in Seattle. And so we have a vision for the program where we have graduates who create equitable, ethical, interactive systems that enhance well-being, considering the needs of both humans and societies. And our graduates are prepared to do just that. So whether you come in with a technology background or you come in with a user research kind of social science background or a design background or a mix of all three, by the time you finish, you'll be in a good situation, prepared for achieving this vision and bringing your skills into the world to create these ethical interactive systems that really do enhance the well-being of not just individuals, but hopefully society as a whole. let's go ahead to the next slide. So MHCID was born out of the DUB group, which is, as the diagram here shows, the Design, Use, Build group. That's kind of the umbrella organization that is tying together 4 different units that helped found and support and run the degree. So those units are the design division within the School of Art, Art History and Design, Computer Science and Engineering, the Information School, and Human-Centered Design and Engineering. And those units have collaborated on this degree and in teaching and governing the degree, kind of administering the degree for the entirety of the degree. So from the very beginning, this degree and this program has in its DNA an interdisciplinary, multi-departmental kind of structure. And it then kind of birthed the MHCID program out of this profitable union of these 4 different programs, because we know that HCI and design is not a topic or an expertise that's subject to just one of these departments, but we really all come together and have to work together to give this degree the character that it has, which is that it's truly interdisciplinary and multi-departmental. And so you'll have instructors, some from industry, some from these departments, but their backgrounds will reflect blends of all of these different expertise. And you'll come out of your program having really been exposed to all the component parts that support an interdisciplinary subject like HCI and design. Okay, let's go ahead and. Oh, right. So on this slide, we just turned DUB into MHCID, but that's, as I said, where the degrees come from, and has been a kind of the degree that is really exemplifying how these 4 different units have come together and created something greater than the sum of their parts.
Awesome. Thanks much, Jake. I'm going to probably be asking you to talk a little bit here when we get into curriculum as well.
Sure.
But that's great to hear that overview. Jacob has been with the program, again, like you said, from the very beginning, and put this thing together as we got it started years and years ago. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the curriculum now and kind of break down how we've structured our curriculum. There's a couple of overview structural sort of skeletons that put things together. But so first, to talk about the program, we are a 1-year program. This is an intensive 11 months. You start in September, you graduate the following August. This is a fast-paced program. It's full-time, with most of our courses happening in the daytime. That's important to know, because as a full-time and daytime mostly program, this is not really a work-compatible program. You can do a little bit of work. You'll hear from maybe some of our students will talk about like gigs they can do a little bit, but it's not designed to be a program that you're continuing in a full-time job and working in this program. We find it's successful for people to come in and really immerse themselves for the year here and get the most that they can out of the learning as they're in the program. We expect to enroll around 50 students every year. That's our cohort size each year. And we use the cohort model in our dedicated studio space. I want to talk a little bit more about those last 2 points before we go into the curriculum more. So we say cohort model a lot. You'll hear the word cohort a lot. For us, what does that mean? We really think that the learning here is best done based in a collaborative model, working on group projects. Most of what you're working on in this program is going to be a lot of group projects. That's the style that work takes place in industry as well. You're usually learning to collaborate and compromise and stand up for what you need in group projects. So we've designed a lot of the curriculum around small group activities and small group work. Most of the courses that you take throughout the year when we go through the curriculum next, those are courses that everybody in the cohort will be taking together. There's about 46 credits that you need for the degree. About 39 of those, 39 of the 46 credits are in the core curriculum, where all of our students will be together, working as a cohort together. So it's not a design your own adventure kind of curriculum. You're really buying into the way that we've set up the curriculum. Where you specialize is in the projects that you're working on and in the roles that you play during those projects. That gives you a chance to specialize a little bit more, but you won't be sort of designing a different curriculum path along the way. So before we go into the curriculum details, I wanted to take a minute to play a video that sort of introduces our space. This year, we moved into a new space for the cohort. Our studio is something we're really proud of. It's state of the art and really a great place with a lot of ability to spread out and do your work and really make it your home during the year. So this video will kind of walk around the studio space. That's really like we're really excited about this space. That video was shot by one of our students before really we moved in. So it looks a lot cleaner than it looks right now. Now it's much more lived in. It's been fun to see everybody sort of take advantage of the space and make it their own. This has been a really great place to see how we're going to be moving into the next few years and how we're going to make use of this shiny new space. We're really excited about that. So when it comes to curriculum, I think the curriculum for the program breaks down into about 5 different types of courses that you'll be taking. We have studio classes, capstone, the seminar courses, a portfolio class, and electives. And I would like to talk about each of those a little bit. Um, so studio classes. Studio classes are what we think of as sort of at the heart of the program. This is the practice side of learning in this field. Every quarter, you'll have a studio class that'll give you a chance to work on one or several projects in small groups to really refine your understanding of design and research and how it comes together to solve a problem that's defined by you and your group around different topics. In the fall, we're going to be working on ideation as the emphasis. We can talk with our students later in the program about what their ideation projects are looking like now that they're about halfway through the quarter. In winter quarter, the studio is prototyping studio. Prototyping studio does a little more emphasis on building, on taking the digital and turning it into physical artifacts, on learning how to make some prototypes that help you in your design process. So a lot of physical building in winter quarter. Spring quarters studio is the research studio that you conduct the research for your capstone project. And summer quarters studio is your capstone studio. All of these together can touch on a number of different topics. In the last few years, what's definitely become a not surprising theme for this program is, and the entire world, is how AI is influencing our field. So we've seen more and more projects come in and talk about how they can make use of AI or how they can design with or for AI tools. That's been something that we've seen a lot more of in the recent years. These projects that people work on in studios definitely have the ability to flex around topics that were of most interest to the field as we move along. Um, in in addition to studios sort of building out of the studios, capstones are kind of their own thread throughout the year. And we have 3 courses that you'll take that build into your capstone projects. You start in winter quarter, the second quarter, with a capstone planning class that's all about learning what the options are for capstone and forming the teams. In spring quarter, the capstone teams are formed. You have an industry advisor and you work together to do all of the research you need. You have a full quarter to really dive into research to become experts in the area and to understand the problem that you're going to be designing for. Summer quarter is almost entirely spent focused on your capstone design and building out your prototypes to make this come together. Capstone projects, they're a small group project, usually 3 to 4 students. Each team has its own industry advisor. So we pair you both with instructors from the program, but also you're paired with an industry advisor that you're specifically working with. Sometimes the industry advisors come in with specific problems they want you to solve. Other times they come in and they work more as advisors to say, hey, you define the problem, we'll give you the industry expertise and talk about our perspective on how this could be a viable product in the workplace. This is a list of last year's capstone advisors, the industry side. You see known, big names and smaller companies. I was talking yesterday with an instructor from this class and asked him, okay, what were themes that you saw in the most recent team? And again, AI, of course, has been at the forefront of what we've been doing. Almost every one of these projects last year incorporated AI or worked with AI as part of what they were doing in their capstone project. If you go on our YouTube site, you can see videos, product videos from every one of these teams and get a sense of the kinds of projects you can work on in capstone. Every year it'll be a different group of industry advisors, but the type of project and the level of craft that you're able to produce in this year is pretty impressive, I think, as we go along. So capstone is kind of the summative project that you take all that you've learned throughout the year in the seminar courses and the studio courses, and you put it together into a large project that you'll then be able to use to launch your career from here. Moving on in the curriculum, the next sequence that you'll go through are a series of seminar courses. So in addition to the studio courses that maybe can be generalized as being an emphasis on practice, I think the seminar courses are a little more of an emphasis on theory, giving you the grounding to understand what's at the heart of the decisions we make as designers and researchers, how we put it all together. Fall quarter is user research class to really dive into a number of methods in the field. Winter quarter is user interface software and technology course. Jacob, our director, he's taught this course a number of times and is teaching it this year. Do you want to weigh in, Jacob, on what you've been doing with WIST class, the user interface software and technology class?
Yeah, sure. I can just say a couple quick words. This class is a class that focuses on the technical side of HCI design. It's not itself a class where you do a lot of direct technical work yourself. So it's not like a programming class or something like that, but it's a class that exposes you to the history of technical achievements in HCI design. For example, what are the first systems that used things like pens or the mouse? Where did that come from? How did that arise? How do we know it was good from the beginning? What are some ways that we've explored text entry technologies for not just desktops and laptops, but things like watch faces and smartphones and other things like that? What's the history of virtual reality and where did that come from? What have we tried and what doesn't work and what does? There's a whole host of things in the field of HCI that have come from technical developments that you have to be aware of so that you don't essentially make the mistakes of the past, and that you appreciate the amount of design detail that has gone into even something as simple that you probably take for granted today, like the scroll bar on your Windows. It turns out there's hundreds of ways to design scroll bars, and about 99 of those 100 are bad. And what makes them bad and how did they become bad? So we really dive deep into all the kind of user interface technology that a lot of which you've used, but you take for granted or haven't really studied. or understood how it's designed or why it's designed the way it is. And then you do some assignments that and give you a chance to engage with that kind of material. And in particular, one of the assignments is now enabling students to engage with AI as a partner in creating an interactive experience. So AI becomes kind of your development partner and your design partner, and you can then create an interactive experience using AI to help further your work. And so it's a neat class. People tend to really like it. There's a fair bit of reading because you have to learn about what's come before, but it all comes together nicely, and students have generally responded really well.
Awesome. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great insight into what these seminar courses can do in each of these quarters. Um, in addition to seminars and studio classes, seminars and studio classes are kind of the heart of our curriculum, but we also have a dedicated portfolio class in the spring that you'll take. This is a place to work with industry professionals who come in, we generally bring in industry professionals who spend a lot of time in the recruiting side looking at portfolios, and they bring their expertise to talk about how to make your portfolio job search ready, how to tell the story of the projects that you've worked on, both before the program as somebody working in industry, and also in the program, the projects that you worked on, how to tell that story and how to prepare for the job search in general. That's a class you'll take in spring. Beyond all of those core curriculum classes, we have electives. So you'll take 2 or 3 electives generally throughout the year. These, for the most part, come from our sponsoring departments. So from the information school, computer science and engineering, human-centered design and engineering, and the Division of Design in the School of Art, History, and Design. Those are the main places that electives come from, as well as our own program. Electives in general are a great chance for you to do a little more sort of specializing. I think of them as the icing on the cake of your curriculum. Most of what you're going to learn is going to be in the core curriculum, but you might have a gap that you want to fill that you identify throughout the year. There might be a part of the design process that you're like, I really need to learn more about that. Or it might be something that's sort of your expertise that you want to dive deeper in. Maybe this is some subject area that you've already got some experience in, but you want to take it to another level. Electives give you the chance to do that. I've put a couple of sample electives on the screen here of some of our more popular ones that students take throughout the year. You'll be selecting those each quarter, with most taken in winter, fall, and spring quarters. So electives are the last little bit of your curriculum throughout the year. So this all comes together in 4 quarters. There's a studio the week before autumn quarter begins. We call it immersion studio. Then you go into autumn quarter taking ideation studio, user research seminar class, and perhaps electives. In winter, you have prototyping studio along with Jacob's user interface software and technology seminar. Capstone planning class begins with, and possibly electives. Spring quarter, we move into research for capstone. Design of interactive systems is the seminar course. The portfolio class gets folded in here, and probably electives as well. And then summer quarter is pretty much all capstone. Unless you're taking an elective on the side in summer quarter, you're really working on capstone and pointing yourself towards the future and thinking about your job search and where you're going to move after program. So this is our quarter by quarter layout of our curriculum, and we can talk more about it in questions as we move forward. I think moving beyond the classes, what is also good to think about as you're considering the admissions process is, who do we think is right for the MHCID program? And we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the key strengths that we find make for really strong students in the program. Jacob, I'd invite you and we can sort of tag team on these and talk about any that come to mind here that we want to bring out. I think looking at the beginning of this first couple of bullets, looking for students who are curious and thoughtful about people and technology. Curiosity, I think, really defines what our students bring to this program a lot. This question of asking why we're doing what we're doing and really wanting to dive into more than just sort of the building of superficial skills, but really asking and thinking about what technology can do for people, but also like, who are the people involved and how can we make sure that we're designing for people, not just with these shiny new technologies that come out? We think it's important for us to develop designers and researchers who have both people and technology at the heart of what they do. Self-directed and driven, that second bullet, that's really important in a graduate program. I think this is not a program that spoon feeds you and you can sit back and just wait for it to come to you. You really need to be taking control of your own learning in this program. And we're looking for students who are self-directed and driven that really could come in and ask, like, how can I get the most out of this program? What can I do to make this program what I need it to be? Um, Jacob, if you want to take a couple of these, I'll pass it over to you.
Sure. So yeah, as Matt has mentioned, this is a cohort and studio model. And so it's not the case that you will be kind of running all over campus all the time to various different classes. You can do that for some of your electives, but a lot of the time you will be spent in the studio with the same cohort. So you do get a chance to really go deep with the people that you are in the cohort with. And studio-based education is maybe familiar to some of you or most of you, but not all of you. A studio model is where you work intensely and closely on these design projects and cover the walls with sketches and notes and diagrams and brainstorm, the products of your brainstorming. You work in small teams and you undergo critiques and you engage in those constructively with others, and then you improve the work you're doing. So it's not some of the classes, the seminars are kind of more traditional learning, but a lot of the classes are going to be more hands-on studio style classes with your cohort, and it allows for a kind of intensity and depth that traditional classroom learning doesn't often offer you. And it can be quite a great way to really learn the design disciplines. So architecture, for example, has had studio-based education for probably thousands of years, we could argue. And art degrees, design degrees in general, often use this kind of model as well. And so in that respect, MHCID employs a design-based studio model as well, but it's somewhat of a hybrid because you will have some seminar classes and you will take some electives that take you into kind of more traditional classroom spaces on campus as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So these last bullets, I think a lot of them speak for themselves. So we're looking for students who are willing to dedicate a full year. It's, you're taking a break from your work or from going out into industry during this year. We think it works best in this program when you're really diving in head first to just see what you can do in this year here, and that prepares you best for what's coming after this. If you're looking for a program where you can continue working where you are, this is probably not the place for you. It really is a fairly, well, we'll hear from our students, but they've started getting the taste of it already. It's a pretty intensive year while you're here. It's also an expensive year. We don't want to minimize that. It is 1 year, so we think it's great in the turnaround that you come in and out of this program in a year and then you're back to working after this. But it is an expensive year. So that willingness to know that you're getting into a year's commitment is one thing that we're looking for. Impulse towards creation and a sense of purpose. Those we really look for in your application to have, like, we're looking for people who have a sense of where they want to go. Now, we don't expect you to have everything figured out and know exactly what your life is going to look like after this. You're coming to a program to learn and to come up and open some possibilities. But we're looking for folks who understand, like, the value of wanting to make something new in the world and consider the possibilities of what might be there, and also have a sense of, like, what could be good in the world, what would be good to be designing towards. Those sorts of qualities are what we're sensing and trying to understand in your application materials. So overall, I think these are some of the qualities that we're hoping to get from you and your applications, and to understand whether or not you're a good fit for this program. I wanted to talk really briefly about the admission side of thing. I only want to make this a brief the admission materials I only want to talk about briefly because we have a lot of information on our website. You can read about these things and you can watch a video of me talking about all of these points on our website. So we don't need to spend so much time here. We can definitely bring up questions and answers as well. But application materials are pretty straightforward. You'll submit an application fee. And unofficial transcripts, you don't need the official transcripts at this stage. We need you to be graduated with at least a 3.0 GPA using one of several methods that we outline on our website. That's from a 4-year degree program, an accredited degree program. You'll submit 3 letters of recommendation from people who know you well and can write strong letters for you. Resume or CV. The resume becomes more valuable for folks with more work experience, especially to help us understand what you've done beyond your academic side of things. You'll also be submitting your transcripts, so we'll understand your school side from that. Then the last things on the list of application materials, those are where you're really going to put more time into what you're preparing for us. A statement of purpose is where you put together your whole story and you give us a sense of why you're coming to the program, what you're going to bring to the program, and why this is the right next step for you. So helping us understand where you come into things and why MHCID is the right next step. That's what your statement of purpose can really do for us. We believe in the value of interdisciplinarity quite a bit. As Jacob mentioned from the beginning with the departments that put us together, we also think that the cohort becomes much more valuable when we bring folks in from a variety of different backgrounds. That's great, and it makes for a much more interesting cohort, but it also makes for a bit of a problem and a puzzle when we're reading your materials. You're coming from a different direction than other people are coming. So your statement of purpose really needs to dive into helping us succinctly understand where you're coming from and what that adds to the program and how this is the right next step for you, because it's probably a different direction than other people are doing as they come into this program. The additional materials, this is typically something like a portfolio of your work. We're looking for how you've processed problems in the past. Typically, if you're coming from a design background, you've got something like a portfolio that shows those things. We don't require that it be a portfolio, but we want to see your work. We want to understand how you've approached a problem in the past, what process you've used to address it. If you're not coming from a design background, this might be a different form. It might be something like a research paper that you help us understand how you approach something more technical. Or we've had people in the past submit a GitHub page if they come from something like a dev background. So some additional material to show us the work that you've done. And this year, new in our requirements, where we've added a 1-minute video where we ask you to talk a little bit about one of the projects that's in your additional materials and what that project shows about why you're excited to be joining this program. You can hear details about all of these on our website, though. So I encourage you to go in there and ask questions as well in the questions and answers. International applicants, just wanted to highlight that there are a couple of specifics you'll need to do. You'll need to demonstrate, everybody needs to demonstrate English language proficiency. This either comes through test scores or having attended an undergraduate program in the US or a couple other English speaking countries. You can also have your undergraduate degree taught in English in other countries. And if you can verify that with a letter, that can satisfy this requirement. Want to reiterate that you'll need to have graduated from a 4-year degree program at an accredited school, and be sure to convert your GPA from whatever system you've taken it in to a 4-point scale so we can understand how that compares with our 4-point scale that we use here. Those are the requirements for international applicants. Cost and finance, we've mentioned this a little bit already, but just wanted to hit on this again, that this is a program where the estimated tuition is about $60,000 US. It's a fee-based program, which means that we're not drawing money from the state to supplement this program. We rely on tuition dollars to run this program. You can expect coming in that it's going to cost about $20,000 to $30,000 additionally, to support your year in Seattle. Seattle is not the most expensive city in the US, but it is a fairly expensive place to live for the year. We just want to be clear about that as you're planning for the year to come. Most of the students in this program are paying for the program through loans, maybe some personal savings as well, but private loans and student loans are the main way that students finance this program. We have a few scholarships, but they're very limited. So I don't want to give a false impression. This program is mostly going to be a self-funded year for you. There are some limited student employment opportunities. We have several students working with us in the program. That can sort of like help pay for things around the edges, but it's not going to finance your whole program. So we want to be really open with you when we talk about costs and finance to let you know what you're getting into for this year. The admissions timeline is really straightforward. The deadline to apply is January 15th. We don't do rolling admissions, so get everything in by January 15th and you'll be fine. There's no benefit to rushing to get things in early or anything. But January 15th is a hard deadline. After 2 months of reviewing, on March 15th, we'll send out decisions. That's when we'll let you know whether you've been admitted, put on the wait list, or not admitted. If admitted, you'll then have 1 month to decide whether or not you accept this offer of admission. So the 15th are really your key to the timeline that you can look forward to here. January 15th, get your applications in by then. March 15th, you hear back from us. April 15th, you let us know. Those are the days to have in mind. Before we get to the student panel, I wanted to talk briefly about careers a little bit. So admissions are kind of what you do on the way in, how to get into this program. Curriculum tells you about what we do during this year. And then careers is what happens on the other side. And here, I just wanted to let you know that we do quite a bit throughout the year to help you prepare for what's coming outside of this program. This is a professional degree. We're expecting you to go to industry after you finish this degree, and we think it's important to give you skills and tools for the job search, as well as the skills and tools that you'll develop in the program. You'll hear me say this again and again through the year, that I think at the heart of this, your best career development tool throughout this year is the coursework that you're doing. The learnings that you're going to get in the classes, the projects that you'll undertake, those are what's going to make you a better prepared job applicant and especially a better prepared worker in the field after this. Career development, it can take an outsized importance to think about like how I can prepare for the job search. I really want to emphasize again and again that what you do in the classes, that's your best preparation. What we do beyond that, though, is we have a lot of work that we provide, classes that we provide throughout the year to help you prepare for the job search. So I run workshops regularly on how to prepare for different stages of the interview, whether it's the resume, networking early on, or talking about different types of interviews, screening interviews with the recruiting HR team, behavioral interviews where you answer those questions like, tell me about a time when something has happened, and portfolio interviews, along with whiteboard challenges. How to stand up at a virtual or real whiteboard and answer a design question on the spot. We'll practice all of those. We'll go through best practices. We'll talk about those in sessions. In addition to those nuts and bolts types of things, we regularly bring our alumni back to hold panels and talk about what it's like to work in different industries in this field. Our alumni are one of the secret weapons that I think makes the program great. The alumni give back a ton to the program. They come as guest speakers regularly. They come as panelists. We also have an alumni mentoring program that pairs up every student with usually two, sometimes more alumni that they have ongoing relationships with, that you can come back to and talk with and ask your questions throughout the year about what's on your mind, how you're preparing for the job search, and what you're looking at beyond there. Those alumni mentors tend to be long-term relationships that I speak with alumni all the time, and they say they're still meeting with their alumni mentors from way back when they were in the program. That's a really good career resource that can help you throughout the year. We do site visits, generally 1 or 2 a quarter, where we take you out to different companies and hear what people are doing working in this field at those places. Last year, we had groups go to Starbucks. They went to Blink UX, a design agency. We had a visit to Uber and a visit to Google, along with other ones. Those are the ones that give you a chance to sort of see practice in the field. Being in Seattle is a really great advantage working on this degree. The Bay Area and San Francisco and Seattle are really the heart of where design is practiced most and where there are most companies working in this field. So it's great to be in Seattle. You have a chance to go out and visit those places and talk with people working in the field while you're during this year. Last little thing to talk about there is that the University of Washington is where our degree is. And in addition to being a program with a studio and all of our own curriculum, you have the resources of a large university that brings together people who offer training in career development almost every day of the week. If you wanted to, you could work with folks in those in the larger university and get an opportunity to meet with folks who are working on related fields or directly in this field. The university has all sorts of folks working in entrepreneurship, working in different business sides of things. It's a great resource during your year here that can really help with your career development. Last thing I want to talk about, because I'm getting antsy to talk with our students, I want to talk a little bit about career outcomes. So our alumni are now spread around the world, but we're really heavily concentrated. When you think about where the alum go from this program, there are a lot of people on the West Coast. About half of our alumni are in Seattle. Another significant portion are in the Bay Area, San Francisco. If you add in the rest of the West Coast, that makes up about 80% of our alum from this program. There's a good portion over in the East Coast, especially in New York City, but we're mostly, not surprisingly, located and focused along the West Coast. That's where most of the technology companies are really working as well, so not too surprising there. Alumni job titles are not a very surprising breakdown here. Most of our alum have some title that has something like designer in the title, whether it's product designer, UX designer, interaction designer, those sorts of titles. We have a good minority that's in research as well, directly in research facing topics. There are also a number of alum, generally the older alum who've been out for a while, who have moved into more leadership role. So those are the kinds of titles that you can expect to go into out of this program. Job hiring speed is the last topic I wanted to touch on, I think here. So in this field, we've traditionally had very quick success rates when it comes to hiring out of this program. Our overall hiring speed coming out of the program, for years and years, we've seen about 2/3 of the alumni getting hired within 3 months of graduation. After 6 months, that number has gone up to over 90%. If you are paid attention to this field, you know that a lot has changed in the last few years. And we know that we're still in some uncharted territory here. So about 2 to 3 years ago, hiring really slowed down in this field. This has been a much tougher job market. Things have improved somewhat in recent years, but we're still not back to those traditional numbers. So I wanted to give you a breakdown of how hiring has proceeded the last couple of years. The most recent year that we have full data for are the 2024 grads. About half of them were hired within 3 months of graduation. That's an improvement from the year before them, but still not up to the traditional hiring speed. And we still have quite a few students who were looking after more than 6 months, they were still looking for jobs. So it's a slower hiring market overall. It has recovered a bit from where it was 2+ years ago, but we're still not up to the easier hiring that happened years in the past. The most recent grads are graduates who completed the program just over 2 months ago. We don't have full data on them yet. They're still heavy in the job market. I talk with them almost every day now to see what they're up to. It seems like things are tough, but going pretty well. So I expect it'll be fairly similar to what we saw for the 2024 grads. We've had some people hired at different companies here that I've listed. It's a little too early to know what's going on, but it is a tough market. The prospects are good. What we think in a tough market can really prepare you for job success is deepening those skills and really understanding more than just at the surface level what we're doing in design, but understanding why we're doing what we're doing. So that's a little bit about the career outcomes here for the program. What I'd like to do now is instead of talking at you, I'd like to bring the students in and hear a little bit from them about their experience. And for this, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and we'll have a chance to talk to humans instead of a slide deck. So everyone, welcome in to our student panel. We've got 4 students joining us today, and I'm excited to let them talk a little bit about how their experience has been here. So joining us is Jai, Hannah, Peggy, and Niveda. And I think to start us out, why don't we just do a round of introductions where you give us a sense of where you came from, um, and why you MHCID as the program that you wanted to go into. And I think Jai, why don't we start with you? Jai is our student admissions ambassador. You may be talking with her as well along the way. If you have questions from the student perspective or you come and visit, Jai will be helping you out there as we go in. So Jai, welcome in.
Hi everyone. It's nice to see all of you here. Before I forget, I'm gonna put my email in the chat, so that whenever you have any questions about application materials or my experience as a current student at MHCID, feel free to reach out to me. Um, so I have a background in psychology, philosophy with a concentration on cognitive science. And after graduated from college, I worked in different industries. I was in the business world, working as a consultant, didn't like it very much. And then I switched gears and worked as a behavior therapist, mainly working with children with autism spectrum disorder. And it's in that job that I witnessed a lot of like resources and technologies that are not accessible or I was in the private liberal arts college in undergrad, so I'm kind of very familiar and used to that kind of like cohort-based model that allows me to build a close-knit community with my peers, with the faculty, with staff, and also alumni. So another big reason I chose this program, aside from that, is probably the curriculums. They're very project-based, and I am a big believer of like learning by doing. So instructors of our core classes right now, they really just go, okay, this is what it is. Now you try it. It's like a bit overwhelming to be honest, if you are very familiar with the academic writing or like reading centered kind of teaching, but this aligns with my preference for hands-on learning. And also, I think it's beneficial if you're looking for industry-oriented jobs after this. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you much. Um, why don't we go next to Hannah?
Hello. Yeah, I came from the University of Knox. And I just finished my undergrad in information sciences with my concentration in UX design. And honestly, I was really led to go to grad school right away. I was in the esports space throughout my undergrad, playing competitively, and I really wanted to explore more about how gaming and UX design interact and how I can work in that area. And I didn't feel like I learned enough about it in my undergrad, so I really wanted to join a master's program. But I specifically chose UW's program because I was really enticed by the cohort model. I knew I wanted community, and I personally think like when you're close to people, you make better work with them. And that has proven to be true so far. I really love working with the the current cohort right now. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you much. Peggy, you're up.
Hi everyone, I'm Peggy. I'm from San Diego, but I'm coming from undergrad at Carnegie Mellon. So I had a dual degree studying half art and then half information systems. And I think what mainly drew me towards HCI was my HCI minor in undergrad. So I had an HCI minor and I really enjoyed kind of the more design aspects of my major in terms of like creative coding with my art background, but also designing for like applications or more practical use for information systems. And yeah, what drew me to the UW program specifically, I would add a point onto the industry focus. I think one thing that I didn't really get to focus on in my undergrad was kind of looking more into the industry and to more of my future roles in the like in the industry. So that was a big part. And then another thing is I was kind of coming out of undergrad from COVID, like that's how I started my college. So I also wanted to kind of get an actual like college experience without those restrictions. And so I thought a master's degree would be great for that.
That's awesome. Thanks, Peggy. Niveda, you're up next.
Hi everyone, I'm Niveda. I'm from India, and as an international student, it's been great being part of this program. I have a background in engineering and data analysis and consulting, and how I switched to design from an engineering background was through a design boot camp. And I worked in Oracle as a designer for a couple of years. And what made me join this program was I wanted to build on my skills more, deepen my expertise. And this was one of the few programs which was a year long, which was perfect for me. And the way the curriculum is laid out, with emphasis on the whole design process each quarter, and then you end up with a capstone project, it was really interesting to me. And similar to what Peggy mentioned, a lot of my design education and work experience was remote. And the fact that this cohort model exists where I can build that design community, be in person with all these people, and learn from people from these very different backgrounds was really exciting to me.
That's awesome. So I wanted to ask a question about what you're working on now. So there's no need to go in order. I think you can just sort of speak up whenever you want, but I know you're all in ideation studio right now and user research class, and you got projects in both of those. And most of you are in electives as well. What kind of projects are you working on? Where is this taking you so far? You're about halfway through the quarter. Love to hear a little bit about that.
Um, I can go first. I'm taking visual communication as my elective because like I don't have a background in arts or design, so that's why I'm taking this course to learn more about visual skills. My final project for this course is redesigning a website for a local nonprofit organization that solves hunger problems and also promote food accessibilities for communities. I'm utilizing a lot of things that I've learned in books and lectures to create wireframes, type hierarchies, and color palettes. So I think the final outcome of this project is to have a design system of this website. I think this course has been challenging to me personally, as I'm not familiar with like design tools and theories, but I like it and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Because it's fun to kind of like learn to apply the theories that I've learned in books to like real life projects. It has a heavy workload, but yeah, I like it so far.
Thanks.
I'd like to go next. Our research project is on Seattle bus transit system, and it's been very interesting to do research on that because I'm able to look at it in a new lens because I've been in Seattle for about a year. I've taken these buses, but now when I take the bus, I'm viewing it through a researcher's lens when I'm trying to see how are people behaving, what are the different aspects of this experience that's impacting them. And a cool thing I discovered was in our user interviews, people spoke about this One Bus Away app that they use in their daily commute. And it was actually built by a couple of UW undergrad students many years back. And it's an open source platform that's being adopted by cities around US, like in New York as well. So it was very interesting. And currently we are trying to do our findings report. So we are analyzing all the data that we have collected to identify any insights and put it together in a report. It's been a very intense, but I've just seen how far we have come in the past few weeks in this research class. It's just been amazing. A lot of learnings.
That's awesome.
I can talk next. So currently in Ideation Studio, we just got out of a 2-week project about sleep and how we can improve people's sleep. And I feel like very quickly you're going to realize that there's a lot of overlap in the skills from the different classes. And we started off this project with having to conduct user research and interviewing participants about how they sleep, any grievances, what they like, dislike. And off of that, we just created several ideas, like pure brainstorm session. Everybody's fireballing ideas, and you have to condense them down and then figure out what do I want to move forward with. And from there, we got to storyboard it and present it. But typically in Ideation Studio, you have like lecture on Tuesdays, and then on Thursdays you present your deliverables. So that's every week, at least one deliverable.
Yeah, I think Hannah and Nevada both mentioned like some of the stuff we're doing in our core classes. I kind of wanted to highlight my elective, so I'm in interfaces lab. I think one thing that I've been enjoying about that is I think fall quarter is a bit more focused on ideating and researching. So kind of getting into interfacing and prototyping a bit early has been a good balance for me, I think, which I've been enjoying a lot. And then I also want to highlight my elective because the way the interfaces lab is structured is more of like an individual project. So I think something that's awesome about the cohort model is like we're all in group projects all the time, and working with each other is like very valuable. But just want to highlight my elective also as a way to say that there are times where you can jump out of that model and do some individual.
What are some challenges? How are things going? And what's life like outside of class too?
I can go first. I feel like the rhythm of this program is definitely like very fast paced. And that being said, I don't think it surprised me because I've talked to current student from the last cohort as well, who also mentioned what their kind of like typical day looked like, what the work-life balance was like. So it didn't surprise me. But it is a challenge for myself to kind of intentionally set boundaries between work and life. Because before coming to this program, I was like working 9 to 5. So it's kind of easier when the time is set for you to detach from work. you get off, you clock out at 5 p.m. and you don't think about it. But life as a student is kind of different. So it's kind of hard for me to find that balance to make it more sustainable instead of burning myself out. But I would say outside of school, there are a lot of fun activities, whether it's with the cohort peers or with the more like broader UW landscape. I actually went to like a makeathon yesterday, sponsored by Figma, and then we're supposed to make a game with Figma Make, their AI, in 1 hour. And then Peggy's team got the best aesthetics prize, which I'm really proud of that, like someone from our cohort won the prize. But yeah, just life outside of school or the studio, there are like a lot of fun activities to do, a lot of things to explore. So yeah, that's it.
I can go next. So what I did this quarter is I didn't take an elective because I wanted to ease myself into the program before it picks pace in winter and spring where I will take electives. So that helped me just absorb, give myself time to just understand how I'm adjusting to the cohort, the new schedule, and how things are going to work. It also gives me time to do more research on the electives. Like I'm trying to connect with some professors one-on-one to see the directed research groups that they might offer and see what better fits my goals in the program. And which also means I have some time outside a little bit since I'm not taking an elective. And some of those, so it's been really fun trying to show some international students around Seattle. And I've taken a couple of our classmates to their first Costco trip, which was a lot of fun. And Seattle is really beautiful. So definitely taken them to a couple of my favorite viewpoints and parks. And I also fostered some kittens. So I had 5 kittens at one point, and I had a couple of classmates come in and spend like some time with them, and that was a great bonding time for us. Just like in the cohort, you'll find somebody who shares like your niche interest. Is it like horror movies, or is it something specific to music or baking? We have a little bit of that. Like in different interests in the cohort. So it's been a lot of fun doing that. Another personal mission I have is helping people, especially who've been in places like California or New York, where they have this amazing food, to go and show them some good food places we have in Seattle as well. It's a little bit more effort to find those hidden gems, but I make it a point like every other weekend if I can go out with classmates and eat at a new place.
Cats, food, and horror music. This all sounds great.
Yeah, I feel like Seattle is a great place to be. They have, I mean, there's just so much to do here, I feel like, especially if you're in the creative space, which I bet you are. You're in a design meeting right now, but also if you're active, so many amazing hikes that you can take here. I personally live in Magnolia, which is next to Discovery Park, and that is just such a beautiful hike. You can make it out to like the water, and there's a lighthouse there, and it's just great view. But for the cohort itself, you know, we are a small cohort. I think it's pretty inevitable that you get close to somebody. And we've been out together several times, you know, whether it's to like a bar or a party, or even I have a funny story. Like a group of us went to the Space Needle at night just to take a bunch of pictures, and we actually got trapped in the Space Needle. The elevators stopped working, so we had to take 98 flights of stairs downward. and there's no like walls, it's just railings, so it's kind of an open stairwell. So it was very interesting. But yeah, the cohort has been amazing so far. Everybody's super nice. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think jumping off of that, one thing I've been really enjoying is kind of how I think UW has a lot of school spirit, and my undergrad was a bit smaller than here, and I would say we really didn't have any focus on things like sports or just um, having such a big community. So I think being part of such like a vibrant school culture is really fun. And I've been able to like do more college things that I didn't even do in my undergrad, like football games and things like that, just because of the like big size of UW. So yeah, I think like even as a grad student, I think some people feel like grad students can be kind of isolated from the overall school sometimes, but I find that so far that hasn't been the case for me, which is really awesome. Um, in terms of more like challenges, I would second Jai on like the time commitment. I do think it's pretty fast paced. So things like in undergrad, I was on a semester system, and then having to adjust to like a quarter system has been really interesting. So yeah, it's definitely a fast pace, but you really get to learn a lot by doing that.
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned in the overall structure that quarter versus semester difference. Quarters go fast if you haven't been in them in your undergrad program. You should know that the 4 quarter system gives you the advantage of testing out a whole bunch of different things, but things move fast each quarter. Um, Definitely different than the semester system. Um, I wanted to ask y'all before we get into some time for questions and answers. So you all are experts. You survived a year ago working on your application materials, figuring out how to put it all together, and you got an offer of admission and you're here. Any tips for potential applicants here on how to think about their materials, things that you think work particularly well that you used? Anybody have any tips for the applicants on what you think would work well?
I can talk about this. So we are an interdisciplinary program, which means like we don't just come from the design background. Actually, most of us don't. A lot of our cohort are from many different fields, and I would say something that you should definitely focus on in your application are your additional materials. And again, as Matt said before, it's called additional materials, not portfolio, because we understand that not everybody comes from a design space. And that is like your place to show work that you've done in the past that you think best explains your skill set. And I would just like work on curating that, like what is intentional and thoughtful that you can show, or like what's creative, just whatever you think is strongest from your work.
I can go next. What I wish I knew when I was an applicant was that social media channels are actually a good way to get a hold of what it's like to be in a particular program. MHCID has a YouTube channel and it also has an Instagram account, and I didn't know them until after I was admitted. I was like, oh, this was like actually good information to know what a typical day looked like for students there. Um, and also, I totally agree with what Hannah mentioned. Like the team is from interdisciplinary background. We have people from like psychology, from engineering, from design, of course, and then from a lot of other backgrounds too. So I would say stay authentic and genuine in your application materials, and don't be intimidated if your portfolio is not a fancy, responsive designer's personal website, because mine wasn't. Um, teamwork is like very important here, and we welcome people from all kinds of background.
I want to jump into second that the Instagram especially, but also the YouTube channel. Those places have some great ways to get a sense of the student life. So check out our Instagram. Our social media student team this year has been killing it with great videos and great stories along the way. So definitely keep an eye on that. Thanks for mentioning it, Jai.
Yeah, great advice from GI and Hannah. I would like to add is think of your entire application like a story about you, and each aspect of it is unfolding more details about that story. So if you talk about something in your SOP, then the resume adds a little bit more details, maybe the statistics part on your resume, and then the recommendation letter shines some light on some stakeholders' perspective, somebody who mentored you, their perspective on this thing that you did. And then your case study then shows the entire process. So think of it like all these small blocks, and then it builds into the story of who you are and what motivates you and why you want to do this program this particular year. And don't feel pressurized to be perfect or and to have all the latest jargons like AI or things like that. Just be authentic, like GI mentioned, about what's your story and what motivates you to be part of this program.
It's great.
Yeah, I don't have many notes. I think that was all great advice. I think one thing in terms of like looking at the program on social media and on YouTube and all those channels is it's really awesome if you can like talk to one student or have like a one-on-one and just get a great sense of the program. Like just message them on LinkedIn or something. I find that just talking to people in the cohort above me or like previously has been super helpful and just getting to know the overall sense of the program. Yeah, and then I guess another thing is kind of cliche, but it's always awesome if you start early as possible and just get everything together so you're not rushing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I wanted to make sure we had some time for questions from the audience. I haven't been really good about reading the chat as we've gone through the presentation. If anybody in our group has seen something in chat that's a question we could answer. Otherwise, we can also have anybody in the audience who wants to just raise your hand and ask the question live. That can be great as well. Mara, you're up.
Yeah, Mara, you got it right the first time. Thank you, Matt and Jacob and all the students. I have two questions. My first one was whether there are any stats on the distribution of the age of the students of the program.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think of the distribution typically as being kind of, not surprisingly, a bell curve with three different big buckets of the demographics for our students. The majority of our students, about 50% in any cohort, is somebody who's come with what I think of as like a good one good work experience of 2 to 5 years after undergrad. So that 2 to 5 years after undergrad is kind of the heart of the bell curve of years of experience. About half of the cohort comes with that. About 30% in any given year, somewhere around that, is pretty directly out of undergraduate. 0 years or 1 year of work experience, pretty quickly out of undergrad. And then the remaining 20-ish% or so come with more than 5 years of work experience. Usually, if you're coming with more than 5 years of work experience, you might be either you've got a very specific reason for wanting to come back in and get more training. Maybe it's a big pivot, or you've identified a specific skill set that you want to dive into here. That's generally how the demographics break out.
Okay, great. Thank
Next
you.
question.
My other question was, if as much as you can speak to this, how does it differ from the UW MDes program, maybe with a concentration in interaction design?
Yeah, so the MDes program is in the Division of Design in the School of Art, Art History and Design. The MDES program is a great program. It's more focused on preparing for educational experience for working in education afterwards. So it's a deep dive into the craft of design, but a lot of what they tend to prepare people for are careers in education, working, teaching design. We often have a lot of our TAs come out of that MDES program. They just have a little less of, some of them go into industry, so they get some training in that, but it's much more within the division itself.
Mm-hmm.
Great design opportunities in there, a little less interdisciplinary, a little less focus on the on some of the other sides of things, but more of a focus just straight into the design side.
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you.
Hands up from Chaitra.
Hi, yes. My name is Chaitra, but I also go by Chai, if that's easier. But yeah, thank you all for being here this morning and like being so open about the program. On one of the slides, I saw there was like an AI elective, and I know Matt, you mentioned like there's a big emphasis on using the new AI tools. And I was just trying to understand like since it's so new and still emerging, how do you go about building the curriculum around it? Like, is it bringing in industry professionals that are like kind of building these products, or how do you think about that for the classroom?
Thanks, Chai. Jacob, do you want to talk a little bit about how you're thinking about building it into your curriculum? I could talk about that elective as well, but I think it's a question that's been definitely on our mind.
Yeah, about AI generally.
How you
Yeah,
build that curriculum around it.
right. Yeah, I mean, I think right now we're not envisioning adopting an approach that has like an entire single class, like on human-centered AI. That might emerge eventually, but rather a model where we're infusing it into all of the existing classes in certain ways. So different portions of each class will have assignments that involve it. Capstone projects have had quite a bit of it as students have wanted. Even the word "it" right now is itself needing some definition. So when we say "it," if we just say AI, how do we mean that? So there's a couple ways that HCI people engage with AI. One is to use AI as a tool. So AI becomes part of your design process and you work with it in certain ways. Another, though, is designing AI interfaces, like the products that you're creating have AI in them. And how do you design good human AI interactions, right? That's not using AI as a tool so much, but enabling humans to interact with AI. And so both of those topics are being kind of threaded throughout our classes. And I think in the next year or so, it's going to even come more deeply into the curriculum. But the existing courses we have provide for that. So we don't really want to segment AI off into as if it's its own separate thing, because it's another tool that can play a part in the design process, can play a part in the user interface construction process, the iteration process, the brainstorming process. You know, it can be a part of a lot of those things. And so, you know, if we just were to have like a separate AI class, that would kind of artificially separate it out. And that's not really, I think, going to be representative of how you work with AI in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I can kind of see that in like maybe like when you're vibe coding or you have a design and you want to kind of build a prototype, you would use these like AI tools, and that would not have to necessarily be its own class, but it could be incorporated in any project that we do as part of the program. So yeah, that's super cool. Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah. I think that's great. Yeah. Thanks, Chai.
Matt, there are quite a few questions in the chat as well.
Awesome. Do you want to highlight one of those that you think would be good to talk about? We can answer those.
Yeah, so first, this is a question for you. If available, what are the opportunities to perform research and be associated in labs working with professors? And does that offer funding?
So great question. There are several different opportunities to work with researchers in labs, with the caveat that most of those are not going to be funded opportunities. So there's a course sequence, an elective option called directed research groups. That's is a way that the university is set up for students to join faculty and PhD students in their research project and work with them as a course, doing the research on whatever project they're working on. This is an opportunity to sort of use your electives to dive into some of that cutting edge research that's being performed at the university. When it comes to research labs, and going more deeply involved, we generally have a couple students every year who take their own initiative, start talking with professors through the early part of the year, and then find themselves in some of those research labs. Sometimes it's funded. Most of the time, I think it's unfunded, especially in this day and age. Funded positions from research labs are something that is pretty precious. So most of our students are not getting funded opportunities through those, but it is a great reason to be at a university like this, is to like not just see sort of the product side that you'll be working on, but to see where some of those ideas are being formed in some of the projects going on. I think we have students who have worked with the information school, computer science in their makeability lab, on their project sidewalk project. Definitely, right now there's someone who graduated last year who's working in the information school on a driving simulation project. So there are definitely opportunities to work with research groups throughout the year. Sometimes as course, sometimes volunteer, and once in a while as a paid position.
I also saw two questions in the chat that I feel, Matt, you might be the better person to answer them. Are potential students able to schedule meetings with the program to help get feedback on personal statement? And what's the overall ranking of what's important for the application materials?
What's important for the application material? Well, of course, I'm going to say everything is important. We're looking for the whole picture. But that said, a little bit of ranking. I think personally, the personal statement is what I would be spending the most time on crafting, because that's oftentimes the entryway into how we understand you and where you're coming from. So I would spend a lot of time on that, because that sets up like helping us understand how to approach the rest of your application materials. You can't really do anything about your resume and your transcript. Those are your history. Those kind of live without any effort on your part at this stage. Probably your additional materials, the video you put together, and your personal statement, all of those are going to play a role. How much they play a role is going to depend somewhat on how you've set up the framework of understanding you as an applicant. As far as getting feedback from us, we tend to not review sort of drafts of your personal statement. I'd be happy, and I think Jai and I would both be happy to talk with you about ideas you have along the way, but we typically don't do just straight reviews of drafts of those. So questions you have, if you wanted to bounce potential directions off, you are more than welcome to come and ask us, set up a time to meet with us. My email address, you'll find it on the website as well, MHCID@uw.edu. That's a great way to get a hold of me, and then we can set up a time to talk, and I'd be happy to chat through opportunities and possibilities there. But typically not reading drafts and giving marks on the drafts themselves. Let's see. Going to take a quick scan of what's in there in the chat if there are other ones. I want to be mindful of time as well, though. We're pushing up close to the end. Oh, I see. Amol, you raised your hand. You got a question for us. Thanks.
Oh, hi. My name's Moog, and I just wanted to ask, so from my understanding, most of the curriculum is primarily physical human-computer interaction, so through a front end. Is there any research that I can join that's about like behavioral changes in humans when they can like interact with a computer system, like an algorithm, for example?
Yes, I think we do quite a bit of quite a bit of what we'll be talking about in those projects is understanding the behavioral change that goes into why we design things a different direction. So the decisions we use to decide how to approach that back end, how to put that together. That's definitely part of what we're working on throughout this. I don't think we do too much. It's not a very technical program. You won't be designing specific algorithms or working on that coding side beyond some light coding that you'll do especially in the winter quarter in prototyping studio. It's not a heavy technical program, but thinking about how we shape the way that we're approaching humans and that behavioral change part that you mentioned, that's definitely part of the program.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
I think we have a question on the 1 minute video, Matt.
Mhm.
I just read it out. How would you rate the importance of the production quality itself? For example, the editing, video style, and so on. Or is it okay to be just straightforward and concise? Which type of format is preferred?
That's a great question. Honestly, this is our first year with a video component, so we've left it fairly undefined. We almost decided to make it we almost said we wanted you to just give a unedited, talking at a camera, straight 1 minute of chatting, and we decided to leave it undefined. So if you wanted to do something differently, that's up to you. But I think the story you tell is the more important part of this. It's your chance to explain something a little bit and to give us a little bit of insight into the way you approach the problem. We're not looking for highly polished, super produced videos. If that's the way that you communicate with the world, maybe that's what you'll use. But we're mostly looking for you to just be talking to us. But we're a little unsure. We haven't done this before, so we're a little unsure what we'll see in there. That's what we imagine, though. All right.
Just just a question on the 1 minute video again. How
Yes.
strict is that time limit? Can it go over?
A
Or
little bit over and it would be fine. I wouldn't go far over, but if it goes a little bit over, we tend to not be nitpicky about the exact precise deadline. So we won't be marking you down if it's a minute 5 or something
okay,
like that.
okay.
If it's 10 minutes, we're probably not going to be watching beyond the first minute and a bit. So
The
you'll run into trouble if you go longer just because we'll say, didn't he read the instructions?
okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem. Thanks. Thanks for asking. All right, everyone, thank you so much. We're at time. If you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to us, mhcid@uw.edu. Jai also left her email address in the chat as well. We've been glad to talk about the program. Hope you've learned how we see the program and what we've got in line for you in the coming year. Good luck with your applications, and thanks a lot for joining us this morning. And especially I want to thank our panelists, Jacob, Hannah, Jai, Peggy, Niveda. Thank you all for spending some time with us this morning. And whatever place everybody else finds themselves in around the world, been great to share a little bit of our morning with you. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt.